We're here today with Dr. Azhar from Professor of Computer Information Systems at the City University of New York, CUNY, and he holds the role of Director for the AI Innovation Hub project. His scholarly efforts, supported by NSF, DOE, Google, and IBM, concentrate on advancing AI, robotics, cybersecurity, and creative STEM education. He spearheads cross-disciplinary AI programs designed to improve AI literacy, professional growth, and experiential training for both scholars and educators. Dr. Sar, welcome, and thanks for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sibilin, for the kind introduction, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm going to presenting today. My title is Custom AI Bus for Innovation, Research, and Interdisciplinary Learning. And then through this presentation, I want to kind of showcase the things you can do in the classroom and experiential learning outside classroom and research, which is also experiential learning outside classroom. And I'll provide some demo from what we have done over the years. So that's me. I think Dr. Sibilin already gave a kind introduction. My research in robotics and human-robot collaboration and AI in education. I also work in the K-12 space, but I run that Tech Innovation Hub where funded by NSF and other funding opportunities. So the things we do in the projects that could be supported by them. So quickly, I want to kind of show us about the AI bots. I mean, they existed before the Gen AI bots we have right now. So evolution of AI bots came back in the 60s. We had the rule-based chatbot where we have conditional statement to figure this out, what question they are asking, and based on the questions, we provide answers. And this was still probably 60s and 70s and even 80s was rule-based chatbot. Rule-based chatbot still exists. If you go to a website like they are not using Gen AI, they're probably using a rule-based chatbot because it's very, very effective and is very, very affordable and quite cheap, compared to Gen AI cost. Whereas AI NLP chatbot, which is kind of IBM Watson came up with a little later, and where you have the little more of natural language processing happening, where you're understanding the user intent and the context of on the question they're asking, which is kind of lead to probably Gen AI later on, and evolution of the chatbot in general. And I have utilized this chatbot as a way to learn different things in the innovation challenges, where we did engage students from a different discipline with our computer science students to work on problem that for social good. I work with interdisciplinary research and primarily on autism and mental health. For our students to engage and create solution and prototype. We published paper on this one. And we have student-led projects where we have student in the classroom. We did group project where we student kind of created things. So here, I just want to point out quickly that AI bots are not new. Eliza was coming in 1966. The Deep Alice was 1995. And those are basically, to answer to think about, you probably know about this Turing test, where Alan Turing was famously coined the idea that if you cannot distinguish the machine from a human when having a conversation, that machine is considered as intelligence. And it's funny, at least human way, it's a perception. But that's something the Eliza was trying to do. And then the chatbot like IBM was more like, going beyond the expert system, where we have a chatbot that understands your intent and context to answer the question. And ChatGPT more generalized, you can do anything you want, any ask you any question you ask. So to three generation of AI bots I just mentioned before, the generation one is the rule-based chatbot, which is simple if-then logic. If the user asks this question, then we answer this way. So you have a limited predefined path. So, but again, usually what the rule-based chatbot used to work before, you work with an expert and you basically figure out all the possible combination if you can, and then put them in the system. And they're accurate, 100% accurate, because those questions have been vetted for, the answer has been vetted for. So all the questions and answers you got is perfectly accurate, right? Based on coming from the expert. And generation two, which is the AI NLP chatbot, where we're talking about a little bit of different thing where we have to understand the user intent. So it's kind of a little more free form in a way, and the context. So what the user is asking, what is the context, and you try to understand from there to give the answers. Again, those answers are vetted for, and you can make sure that all the answers you get from the user um, um, given to users is going to be absolutely 100% correct, right? And that's the generation two AI and NLP chatbot. And they're still around. You can still do both generation one and generation two chatbot, right? Generation three chatbots are they basically the large language model. Now, here's the catch here. It can answer any questions you want, right? But you might get a wrong answers, right? So that's the other thing about the Gen AI chatbot. But most stuff we do, it's probably worked for us. So I'm gonna maybe do some case stuff later on. Um, so IBM Watson, the one I chose back in the 2020, I had a couple of reasons why I chose that. One of the reasons was, as a computer science, and we do coding and stuff like that. My students do coding and stuff like that. So for them, IBM Watson not maybe the better option. But if you think about it, the one I wanted to do, I want to make sure that we have an interdisciplinary participation of all the things I do. So to how do I, make this more accessible to anybody from any majors to come in and do something. So IBM Watson, the chatbot option they had was one of them where I can involve people, and it's no coding interface. It has a environment you can learn fairly easily, and then you can create something on it. And again, it was a free version of it. Remember, the IBM was selling this for company and organization. I was using education version working with the IBM folks, and so we created those learning environment where we can create those things, and then our student can create them and provide them idea. And then the other thing is the chatbot we created. The student realized it could be 24/7 for helping student for various reasons, and I'll give you some example later on. And that was the reason I was using the IBM Watson chatbot. Um, so so rule-based chatbot is still available. If you go to any website, the FAQ systems, like frequently asked question systems, are usually rule-based one. Advisement bots is still out there. Healthcare navigation is still out there, and they're lower cost. They don't cost nothing, right? Almost compared to the Gen AI chatbot. Um, so, so I want to mention over here is that I strongly feel about it, that the Gen AI could be overkill for a lot of the chatbot we want to build, right? Because some of the stuff um, we want to work precision because we want the accurate answers. If you want accurate answers, Gen AI is still not there to give you accurate answer. 99% of the time correctly if they say that, it's still not 100%. So you don't want 1%, let's say it's a medical bot or it's like something like classroom stuff or you don't want to give the wrong answers. That period, right? So rule-based systems provide exact deterministic answers for question queries. So we know that rule-based system works pretty well. And then for the Gen AI, the hallucination risk, right? When you ask a question over and over, Gen AI start, hallucinating and it started generating inaccurate questions, and it still does, right? And we need to have a strict guardrails on that. Um, so so I'm going back to the COVID-19 where everything was kind of up in the air. It was terrible time, but how can we get our students involved and do stuff? So I guess invented the whole thing called virtual makeathon, where we asked the student to create something over time in Zoom. When the Zoom came around, I had more option to kind of do that much more easily because we have the breakout room and all that. So I worked with IBM folks, and then we like the whole semester we worked together on creating some various bots using IBM. And IBM professional came in, help us the guidance, and then tech support and all that to help the students to understand. So and the idea about the Makeathon is part of my National Science Foundation project, where we transition collaborative building even to digital platform for remote participation. We had the innovation challenges where we have problem I provide from the United Nations Sustainable Goals. where we have like zero hunger, you have climate change, and then we have pandemic-related issues that we can, make the students to think about how to solve this problem. And then we had those student projects, student working groups from various majors that we came from social science, psychology, philosophy, we have all those majors came together with the computer science students and they came together and create this stuff. And of course, for when we did this kind of stuff, students feel much more feel like a community because they're working together to solve a problem and they're engaged and they're learning, they're inventing and that was awesome, I think, from my part. Um, so what I did in 2022, I did a innovation challenge for the students, the chatbot innovation challenge. That was in the winter time I did, and I asked them to create a chatbot um, um, for helping students with the academic program, and we use IBM chatbot for this. Um, Let me see. Um, Yeah. So for this one, we have maybe good 40, 50 students participated. We had like groups of four. They kind of all work together, and we had like maybe 10 submission who finish everything and then showcase those work at the end. And I have one of the chatbot from the IBM chatbot they created for advisement. I still show them an example. They did a great job, for the students, where the chatbot was giving information for the user, but for the students coming in the class, and looking for advisement for the classes they have to take, or the what clubs they should go to, or career advice, that kind of stuff. Um, so experiential learning through chatbot design. So I'll kind of give you the model over here, how we did this thing for the experiential learning for my challenges. And this is again outside classroom. So you want to engage students outside classroom. You can give them a problem and ask them what the identify the user needs, okay? And then give them some knowledge base, like where they can get the knowledge from, and then they create the chatbot, and then they have to test it to make sure it works. So it's a very, nice cycle there. They have to learn first how to make the chatbot and then identify a problem and then go through the whole process of designing the chatbot. Um, so what I realized that from the students' chatbot is that one of the challenges I think I had was the IBM, the chatbot wasn't free. So there are some transition went through. IBM was going through some things. Sometime when I was trying to do that, it didn't work because IBM was down, like providing the support for the chatbot, or they changed some whole background architecture, and then the things were a little different. And they had a little hiccup where they came up with the tutorial a little later, so we had to figure things out. Um, but in general, the students had a good conversation design where they think about effective interaction flow, and they realize that natural language processing, foundational. Remember, this is not Gen AI chatbot. So one thing we found out that, when you ask a question, IBM chatbot sometimes don't understand the question if it's not in the right context, so what we end up doing for that kind of stuff, we provide suggested question, right? So the user kind of go in the chatbot, look at the question. You've seen this kind of chatbot probably already. Even Copilot does that. If you go to Copilot, it has like sample question you can click on. So you don't have to type a question. The questions kind of exist for you to kind of choose if it makes sense that that's the question you're asking. Um, and then knowledge base is important because structured data and information resources. So we need to make sure that the chatbot provide the correct information. And then problem solving is the most important part, which I want to emphasize in the discussion. And whenever I get an outlet to talk about it, our students need to know how to problem solve, right? All this technology come and go, but if they don't know how to problem solve, it's an issue. And I think we need to get our students involved more in that kind of situation where they have to understand the problem. And then whatever the technology available, to solve that with the technology or not, right? Or it could be other problem that doesn't involve technology at all. But the understanding a problem and how to solve the problem is the key part of all the stuff I do throughout my all the things I'm talking about here. And one of the model for problem solving we adopted called computational thinking. So where you kind of have a problem, you have to divide the problem into smaller pieces, and then you can look for pattern, you kind of come up with the algorithm, and then you kind of provide a solution that works, in scale, So that's basically one of the things you can also add up computational thinking. You can look it up, and I can also provide resources. That's one of the NSF funding I had for that. So I'm gonna have some demo here. Before the demo, I want to mention that the things I believe that in general, there's a gap between the classroom and the outside world, and the things I do with the experiential learning through research or competition or experiential learning. I want to make sure that those gaps are filled, and it is becoming very challenging right now how things are moving fast in the outside world in our classroom, because our classroom is like elephant. It's like, really move slow, everything we do there, right? So it's impossible to, kind of make any changes. Like even with all the things happening right now, all of you, if you're an educator here, you know exactly how difficult it's to change a curriculum or change anything in general. So experiential learning is a good way to go. So let me see if I can show you this first. So there's two demo over here. I have the demo on the left side. It was a research and a competition at the same time. And this one is about the research, and it's a combination research. So this research was done by primarily Sumia. She worked in a company right now, I think um, Spotify or one of those companies. So she went from BMCC to Columbia University, and she finished Columbia, and then she worked in the industry. She was a women in computing speaker last year when I did the women in computing event. So let me show you here quickly. Okay, so it might little sound, but you can see. Um, can you guys hear the sound?
I think I could hear something that's a little broken
Hi,
up.
my name is Sumaya Haq. I am from BMCC Mekaton for 2020 Team 6. In our team, we have Rosemary, Yasmin, and Alison. Our project is about building a user-friendly Android application that clients will use to mitigate and prevent user experience of stress that caused by recent COVID-19 pandemic. We also integrated our IBM Watson chatbot with the app so that users can get counseling assistance from the chatbot. We also created a little website, and our website name is COVID-19 AI Mental Health. So here is the demo of our Plus homepage. I and Rose worked on the developing the app. I worked on the front end of the app, and Rose worked in the part of the back end of the app where she used SQL database to save the users for pre-assessment and post-assessment data. We use Android Studio for developing our app. So here is the little demo of our application, how it looks like. So this is the front end that I have worked on. This is the launching page, animated login page, and welcome screen. And this is our navigation page, which will let the users to go on the specific counseling session. So the first two, teenage counseling and young counseling, is still under construction. So we basically worked on the nursing home adults counseling for right now. So if we click on the nursing home adult counseling, it will lead us to the navigation page where it will open a browser on the oh, open the browser of the IBM Watson chatbot. Here is the back end of the app, how it looks like. So this is the pre-session survey, and this is the question one from our assessment, pre-assessment. So we use SQL for that to save the data. So in the future, we will compare the data, how patients are progressing mentally.
Every website can be split up into two parts. The front end.
Okay. I think that was it. All right, so let me show you the other one. So again, the student Sumia, what she did was she was working with me research on mental health, and then she was. If you look at the chatbot window there, that was the chatbot window we saw from IBM. Maybe this one, the next one. So this one is autism research, where we are working with kids with autism, where we were developing solution for the kids with autism, and we're talking about the COVID-19 health, mental health etiquette. So if you think about the students had various needs. So some students want to learn about the VR, so we kind of provide a solution with VR, but then some of the students want to work on the robots. So this is very comprehensive. This is almost like a year-long project. We have various students worked on it. So let me show you this one.
Welcome to the COVID-19 Education Suite for ASD. This project is a collaborative effort on the part of Wei Zhang, Charles Yip, and the Chanshu Malay under the supervision of Mohammad Azhar. Our solution aims to address how to help children with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. The problem that we identified is that there is a lack of easily consumable information regarding COVID-19 directed at kids with ASD. We integrated a Watson chatbot with an iOS app and the Nang robot to provide children with ASD with a resource to learn about COVID-19. We also used Unity to develop a fun VR game to learn about COVID-19 that we exported to iOS, which can be launched through the chatbot app. Users communicate with the chatbot by providing text input, which is sent to the IBM cloud through an HTTP request, which analyzes the text and sends a response, which the user receives through text output. The text input can also trigger a gesture from the Now robot through an HTTP request, as well as launch the VR app. The chatbot and iOS app was developed by Natan. Way to develop the Now robot gestures in addition to assisting with the iOS app. Virtual reality app was developed by Charles. Here you can see our iOS app alongside a simulated Now robot. The user provides questions about COVID-19 to the chatbot, and the chatbot responds accordingly. The last 3 questions that the user asks, starting with the question about sneezing etiquette, trigger 3 different HTTP requests, which cause the robot to do different gestures that we designed. This final user input launches our VR app. In the VR app, the user is transported to a room where they are told to look down to move forward and are instructed to put on their mask. After putting on their mask, the user enters the learning. This learning room has 3 different models in various poses that teach the user effective safety practices regarding COVID-19. After leaving this room, the user will enter the quiz room where they must choose an action that is not an effective safety practice, choice of 3 models performing different actions. If the user guesses incorrectly, they must guess again. Once the user guesses correctly, they unlock the next level. This is our solution roadmap for our project. In the future, we hope to continue improving the content of our chatbot, VR game, and interactive gestures, as well as adding extra functionality, such as speech to text and photo responses on part of the chatbot.
Okay, so see, I'm gonna have to turn this on. Put the slide. Okay. So I want to mention this 2 of this presentation I just show you here. On the left side, we published in the 6C conference, was a computer science education conference. And then the right one we published in the human-robot interaction conference. So there's both has been published. And one of the interesting thing I want to mention over here, this was not only chatbot, there's various other things we included to come up with the solution. Chatbot was part of the package, right? Okay. So for the mental health assistant project, I probably know that I think there are a lot of them out there right now. People have already built them and then probably created them. But ideas to accessible support, because during the COVID-19 we had that challenge, right? We still have that, probably providing low barrier for mental health resources to this need and reduce isolation. How do you provide the right information delivery? And we want to have a human-centered design. Um, and the student learn through the research is the AI development, right? And they also figure out the research methods and the ethics and collaboration. I think this was one of the best thing I did during the COVID time, to make our students engage and learn, and then we provide, solution to things we need to solve. Um, Mental health chatbot, we had before rule-based chatbot before, now you have LLM. I think, as I said, my concern for the LLM is that it is a problematic, could be because it can give you wrong answers, so you need to have guardrail and stuff like that. So the arrival of GenAI chatbot, the custom GPT, we have been creating AI tutor, which are in the process, career coaches, and then the students have been working on also an advising bot. So the 3 projects I'm working, maybe next time I do a presentation, maybe I'll share that demo, but it's ongoing. But what we realized quickly, it's a costly process, because it's not something we can think about scaling very quickly without having a lot of funding behind it, the things we want to do. So just to give you again the discussion I was kind of get to that as for the custom GPT goes, you can still make a rule-based chatbot fairly easily, and those are accurate, and it can be deterministic, predictable, and highly reliable for a specific task. And you can also do the governance on that very easily, strict control over logic and output, easy to audit, and then risk profile, low risk of unexpected behavior, but limited scalability, right? That's the problem with the scalability, could be the issue, because rule-based stuff has to be very customized, the things you do. For Gen AI, you have more creative option, flexible option, you have more consideration. But again, we have issues with the guardrail thing we talked about. So one of the things you guys probably know about this hallucination, where preventing the model from generating plausible but false or nonsensical information, because that can happen, right? Bias is another issue with the Gen AI, because you don't know how it's being learned, and then it can have prejudices, and ensuring fair treatment could be an issue. And I think that's a big problem for us, because if we don't get involved, more of us is going to get biased, because people who are using it is going to be biased towards them. So having more people involved in this Gen AI, I guess, transition, we should be all involved in making decision and contribution, so we don't have biases. Also, we want to make sure that it doesn't provide inaccurate information, and the safety and compliance is the other issue, the ethical guideline, legal, requirement, and corporate safety standard. So one of the things, if you think about it, I was doing a workshop on the Gen AI to the students and staff and faculty, where if you go to ChatGPT and you just ask any question, they're recording the conversation. They are, you have to go to the setting to say, hey, do not take my information. So even without logging in, it's taking information from you, because that's how it operates. So human in the loop AI is probably better, in my opinion, is still for a while, because it has the human expertise, you have the domain knowledge and the AI technology, you're going to have a better outcome for anything you solve. Custom GPT and AI agent, as I said, there are a lot of workforce development stuff we can do with the chatbot right now, and we are working on that also. Academic advisement is one place we can also involve, degree requirement, career pathway, that kind of stuff. And we can also use the chatbot for research assistant and like collecting data for the things we do. So customizing the chatbot will be, still a lot of uses case there. So I think the other thing I want to mention a bit quickly is that this kind of give us a AI literacy across the discipline, if you think about it, to the chatbot, because you can come up with projects and that which either in the classroom or outside classroom, where a student can be engaged, which could be STEM or non-STEM, right? That's something is great about this. And then right? This is so we have the STEM application. You can have a liberal art integration. You can have a understanding AI across discipline. You can think about like maybe the custom GPT for what do you want to teach? What are the objectives besides maybe, and of course, problem solving is always a good thing to kind of go from. I think the chat GPTs are great. The custom GPTs are awesome, but we need to make sure that we know what we are creating it for, and we have a guardrail has to be there for using Gen AI stuff. And yeah, I think what time is it right now? I think we're right on the time. I'm gonna pause here. Anybody have any question? This is my LinkedIn, and you can email. Our email is changing in our campus, so that's why I put my Gmail there. It always works. So, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Azhar, for taking us through even some history and some of your own history with this chatbots project, and that it's much bigger than some people realize, because we hear so much about AI and custom GPTs, but the bots that were there before. Thank you for sharing the projects of the student teams. And we have yes, we have time for questions. I'll check if we have any here. Would anyone like to ask some questions in the chat or in the microphone? Otherwise, I have some. Good. Good. Or anything you'd like him to expand on, or go a little deeper. I know some participants said in the registration. Oh, yep. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Hi, that was very interesting. Thank you. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts around how we, obviously, with students at universities are using ChatGPT, etc., and just how we include that AI use, but also ensure our students are still learning and obviously not using it just to sort of produce work that they should be reading themselves.
That's $1 million question, right? How do you it's like a
Yeah.
chocolate for our students, right? It's tasty and they're going to use it. I think we need to kind of think about in the classroom, like how we are teaching and getting the mindset. And one of the project I'm working on, like um, in the beginner level classes, right? Like the very first course, like we call gateway courses in here in US, the first course they take like 100 level courses. I think those courses could be really utilized to make sure that we give them the right information about the students, like why we shouldn't be using ChatGPT for offloading our thinking, right, or learning, right? We need to make sure that we tell them that, right? And then I think we should have some activity where you can show student that it could be wrong, and how it could be problematic, the bias and ethics and all those other stuff. I think I know that it's a lot to talk about, but I think it's something probably we should do more intentionally in our classroom. And I'm literally doing a project right now where when our first course with 5 of my faculty where we are figuring things out, and it's a process. So I think to your question, I think if you do something like that, pick a course that you're teaching and then think about like where you can insert the discussion that give the student the mindset so they don't do offload those thinking process. And interestingly, I did a study which is not about the custom GPT, about AI in the classroom, where I had a 17 AI faculty fellows. We published a paper on this. We have impacted 829 students over a year. And we went through all the classroom, right? So that basically we asked the faculty to create something that involved AI, and that things was relevant to the things they're teaching. So we had 17 faculty fellows from business, marketing, philosophy, psychology, library. So all those folks kind of, and then media art, and then video art technology. And a lot of our students, if you go to like social science students, they already know that how AI could be biased, and they're kind of getting when they do the AI ethics thing, and they realize that, oh, this could be bad, so we need to be careful about it. The other thing we saw that especially for the media technology students, where we have students have to create videos or script and stuff like that, they're pretty resistant. They don't want to use it. They said it's taking their creativity away in a way, so they're reluctant to use them on their own. So I guess if we can provide them the context, I think hopefully our student will be organically probably not using the chat GPT the way we don't want to be chat GPT, because just like in Google, right, or any other things, but I think from the company's point of view, like if you think about the Gen AI companies like chat GPT, Claude, and a lot of other companies, they are not interested really what we want, what's going to happening to us. They have their different agenda, and which is about probably making money, obviously. And so we need to kind of make sure that we, customize them, or we kind of curate them for our students, like what is it good for, and I think that's going to be, my take on that one. And one interesting thing, Anthropic, I think, had a study recently. Someone is showing me that, they said that the students had less problem solving, capability, after the chat GPT, because they're not using their brain part to problem solve, so that's something probably if you do more study, you're going to find out probably that's the case happening, because a lot of our students are doing this in using the Gen AI wrongly, right? Yeah.
And Dr. Azhar, if you have the link to that research article, and can share with us, or put it in the notes, I'd
Yes,
love to
yes.
share that with participants when
Yes,
you
I'll do
have
it.
it.
Yeah.
It looks like we have two questions. So one in the Zoom Q&A from your colleague at BMCC, I think that's Professor Joseph, asked, can you share any challenges the student teams experienced during the hackathons and how they overcame them? And also maybe for those that don't know, if you could like very briefly tell us about this latest challenge, the one in April, some details about that.
Oh, so the CUNY Innovation Challenge, I started like back in 2024, and right to address the whole thing, probably Chrissy was mentioning that I realized that the classroom changes is super difficult, and how do I get to the students and kind of make them think about this problem and all that. So that came out the AI Innovation Challenge, because I was doing a STEM Innovation Challenge before that for last 5 years before that. But the innovation challenge was to get the students engaged in the AI problem, not necessarily chatbot specifically, but chatbot is one of the criteria they have used to create custom bots and things like that. And I think the biggest challenge they had with the innovation challenge were the IBM made some changes, and the tutorial we had, it didn't match that what they have in the system, because they changed update the whole backend without informing us when we're using it. So then they kind of quickly, I went to the IBM folks, and then they give me a new tutorial, and we kind of figure out how to go from there. In general, I think my advice to our students is that whenever the problem happens, they have a day or two to solve the problem. So they just don't take that route, because they don't have enough time to troubleshoot that thing sometime, right? So if something is not working, they need to think about what else we can do right now to communicate our ideas, or just provide the ideas in general, and don't build that part sometime, right? So that's basically how we can address that issue in general. Yeah.
And do you have any top advice for colleagues that might want to try something similar, but they're new to it. They don't know where to start. What is your starting advice for doing a student project, kind of like a hackathon?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm probably the outlier in this case. I want to first ask you, how much time do you have? I can ask you, I can give you advice based on the time you have and how much involvement you want to do on this, because these things like unlimited time amount of time to make anything of this happen. I'm sleep deprived the whole spring semester to run this thing. Like anytime I run this thing, it is a lot of arms and legs to make this happen, because it's not like a company hackathon people do, right? Because Google doing something or IBM doing something, they're pushing their product, right? Where my innovation challenge that I run, which I founded that I curated for our students, what is the problem right now, and then so it's a lot of undertaking. If you are in the CUNY, join me. The next one we're gonna run. I think that way we can um, combine forces. And I always see the example of Avenger. I want to do one in New York City wide, US wide, worldwide, and just in the making. Hopefully, hopefully we can do that. But again, anything you want to do, I think start small and then see how you like them, and then before you get into that, yeah.
And sounds like work with find others to do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't do it all by yourself.
Yes.
But start small. And we had a question in the chat from Simon about data protection, maybe kind of a comment, but also a question. Simon said regarding building custom GPTs or chatbots, whether you do them yourself or off the shelf, I wonder about intellectual property, because once you train a bot, you cannot untrain it. Not sure there's a question there, but what are your thoughts on data protection?
It's interesting, Simone, you mentioned that, right? If you go back to the expert system, the expert didn't like those expert system because the idea with the expert system was replacing expert, right? Basically, you're talking to the expert, you tell them, okay, what do you know? I'm going to take all the information down and make a system. So when you're not around, my system can answer this question in the bot, right? So now it's a different kind of problem altogether. Right now, you are trading a system. It is now we don't even know who owns it, right? Where the information goes. So one of the things people do right now, and then I think one of the way of going about it, you want to maybe do custom chatbot locally, right? So we have to get away from all the Gen AI stuff we have out there, like ChatGPT or Claude, which is using the cloud. We have to kind of do local solution, and I think that way you can probably have more control over it. It's called local LLM. You can look it up. That's something probably we can do it. But again, it's a costly process. As I said, that I wish I had a demo today, but I'm trying to figure this out, like how to train it and also scale it so a lot of people can use it, because we're competing with billion-dollar company right now, maybe trillion-dollar company, how much money they have been pushing in the industry to make this chatbot in a second they answer this question, right? Because it has been a lot of thing happen over the time with the computing era, machine learning and all that. Yeah. And the data privacy is definitely a problem. And so I think as you build them, I think you need to think about, what you need to put in there, and then, can you avoid that at all costs if it's something is very delicate data and then you don't want to be part of the training.